Thanks for staying with us. All right, so we're still discussing paternity fraud. And the angle we're taking it from is because it's International Women's Month and we're celebrating women and also we're trying to understand women better. And because this paternity fraud has become prevalent, we're trying to learn from each other, according to what Nima was saying earlier, that it's not today. And I think Mariam also alluded to the fact that it's been happening for years. I also know people, family members that I know that they have children from different people. They've been here. I mean, there are even family members that will say, this person is not this person's child. That person is not, and I'm wondering what is going on here. There's always that conversation. So, but we all pretend as if it's not there and we just move on. Yeah. But society, modern day social media is bringing these conversations to the fore. Yeah. So how can it be done so that it doesn't become an immoral act, but an acceptable...
It's an immoral
act. Yes. It's an immoral act. Let me take that back. It's an immoral act.
Yes.
But how can it be done such that all the adults involved are aware and it's not a fraud? It's where everybody understands what's going on.
Can I even add? I think, well, you know, we're talking about making DNA mandatory.
Yes.
So if it's something that's already been agreed by the partners, should you now enforce DNA on them? So that's why I'm saying it may not be mandatory because there are different situations that bring about these things.
So let me pause you first. I want to hear what you... I have a caller. Good morning. Hi, you're from Lagos Island. You're live.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. So I just want to chip into your discussion.
Yes.
In Lagos then, we have mothers that would have had children for their husbands, maybe like 2 or 3. They will go to another man to have like 2 or 3 and come back again. And come back again to the former husband to start having children again. And it was the norm. The Yoruba will say, things like that. So it has been something that has been happening before. But I believe it's no longer...
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes. So this is saying now, sorry, BC. She has said that the other one, meaning that one husband cannot give you a full wardrobe. Then the other one I said, obìnrin lale kò lè láṣọ. That if you don't have an extramarital affair, you can't have wardrobe.
So this has been happening in the past. We don't just pretend.
Culturally acceptable.
It was acceptable at the time. If you look at your extended your extended family, there's always this uncle that does not resemble every other uncle.
There's
always this one that they will be pointing at, he's not our blood. He's not our blood. We have it, at the time. And so for me, I like the question you asked about empowerment, right? What I see here is that we like to test the boundaries, but we don't like to receive the consequences. And that's why you go outside, bring belle home. You cannot chest it to explain that this belle is actually not your own. So where do we go from here? Do I leave your house? Do I do this? Do I do that? You keep it because you want to still be enjoying the perks of the covering that you have. You are not willing to chest the consequence of what you have done. So in making all the conversations plain, now we're going to be asking women, you are empowered, Abi, or you chest it. You have done the do already. You have brought the belle. Explain to him whatever he says from there, you abide because it's your action that had brought that consequence. Are we ready to go down that path? A lot of people are not. They just want to escape and find the easy way out. And then at the end of the day,
baby is
that will not show face.
No, if the baby daddy is
a rich person, exactly. So you are in the house with somebody who is well-to-do, doing their struggle and everything. You go and meet a carpenter, they give you belle. You don't want the carpenter to own the pikin because you feel he is not, he cannot give you that security that you want. So you hide and you stay with that pregnancy and you deceive somebody else. The only way we are going to make this thing plain and decide whether it's moral or not is whatever we agree. They said the bed on the file. So if it's an agreement with you and your partner that if any mistake happens, I'm going to tell you the truth. And we can say, I love you, no matter what comes, we can go from there. Then we'll say, between both of you, it is moral. It is not a sin between both of you. But once there's deceit inside, where you're now hiding the belle and then lying that he's the father of children that he's really not the biological father, that's where the sin is. And that's why we say in the hospitals, DNA should be mandatory. Let the man now say, I don't care, like she said, I don't want, it's okay.
So it's not mandatory, so it cannot be mandatory then?
So it can't be mandatory.
So it has to be a choice.
Yes. The man can say, I want it or I don't want it. Let me take this call from Ayo. Good morning, Ayo. Don't make it cheap. It's
expensive.
Ayo, thanks for calling. You're live.
Yes. Okay, I really like the what we're talking about, and I'd like to look at it from this angle. And instead of the word fraud, you see, it becomes fraud when you do not tell the person. For example, you're a woman, you have gone out, you have a child. If it was a man, everybody will know that this is the man's child, and the woman would even be expected to look after the child. It is understandable. It is culturally accepted. But for women, it became a thing of shame as we graduated with some maybe Christian rules and norms and so on and so forth. Before, what society was more open. Society was freer. Even if a teenager goes and has a child, your family will take care of the child. If a woman goes outside and marries and has a child, there were people, if you can't bring the child to your husband's house, the child will stay in your parents' house. So we had great respect for children. People were more caring about children. People wanted the child to be stable. In fact, at a point in time in the Yoruba culture, they will say, there is no bastard child. Just because you didn't marry out of wedlock does not mean you are not a child. If you are the firstborn child, you are the firstborn child. So I believe we have to revisit it because it really affects the children. They are the ones that are affected and devastated, not even the wife or the husband.
Thank you, Aya, for taking us there. Because that's the most important aspect.
But that's the
children.
culture.
How it affects
Let's not water down the actions of the parents because of the children.
No, I'm just saying.
So, Kosomwali, that's true. The meaning is that there are no bastard children because somebody will acknowledge that child. So if a man, for instance, gets a girl pregnant and says, I don't want to have this child, or I don't want this child to... The father of the girl will say, rather than leave my grandchild outside, I will acknowledge. And you will take the name of the father of the child. That's African culture. That's even far from Islam. Which is why Islam has strict rules about these kind of things. It is strict. It should not be done. The proceeds of the lawyers, the heirs of a person is so important, bloodline, name, everything, that they don't joke with it. So in Africa, culturally, I've seen neighbors who will say, no, rather than my child stay in the cold, unnamed, unowned, I will name the child to give dignity back to the child. But it doesn't make the actions of the mother or father better, right or wrong. It is immoral, it is wrong in every way we look at it. And so the conversation we're having here is that paternity fraud. Because when a man looks out and looks for his child, when a woman deliberately plants that child somewhere else, that sin itself is too big a fraud. It's too big a fraud. We can't even just, let's not bring the children into the question here. It's the actions of everybody and the consequence of it on those people that we're discussing now.
Well said, well said. Let me take this call. Good morning, you're live.
Morning, Morayo.
Emi,
my name is Kemi. Yes, I'm calling from Ikorodu.
Yes.
I want us to look at this from another angle. I want to suggest that any DNA that should be done from the hospital immediately the woman gives birth. I had an experience in 2003. I had a son. I knew my baby was a boy from the scan I had. But that same night I had him, a woman also had a girl, the same time, and we bear the same name. The good thing was that our children didn't weigh the same whatever they weighed them during birth. Then the next morning, I had my own 2 CS. She too had 2 CS. They brought her baby to me because they were bearing the same name on their tag. I saw the baby. I knew this wasn't my baby because my baby wasn't chubby from the scan I saw. But the nurses and the matrons that morning, this thing I'm telling you happened in a general hospital. I will not mention the name. They kept on saying, is your baby? Shebo Moeni, is your baby. I said, this is not my baby. My baby is a boy. They kept on saying, no, this is a girl, a chubby girl. You should be happy. They took my boy to the woman in question. I don't know if they wanted a boy in their family. Because immediately she started trying to breastfeed the baby. But the saving grace was that my pastor was traveling out of Lagos, so he was on his way to see me in the hospital before leaving. My husband wasn't there. So when my pastor came, he met me crying on the bed. And he asked me what happened. I told him, this baby they gave to me is not mine. My pastor said, what is going on? So he went about, he scattered the whole place, asking, I want to see my child. I want to see my... That was how everybody started running around. And they went, oh, there's another baby Gabriel somewhere. So they brought my son to me. Now you can imagine if I had done Ojukokoro and gone home with that chubby girl. Today they would say she had a child that is not her husband's own. So I want to suggest that whatever DNA that will be done should be done from the hospital as soon as the woman is giving birth. Has given birth. Thank you.
Thank you. Interesting.
Yeah. Baby swapping. This was
Baby swapping babies.
You see these midwives, they be swapping babies. This story
for a fee.
Sadly happened to my mom.
Hi.
So we had only one son, and when she had our last girl, she said, at a very general hospital, me too will not mention, in this Lagos, and she came, somebody else had a baby boy near her. She had a baby girl, but we come very big and puffy from my own, and she was looking at the boy, very lanky boy, said, this baby cannot be my own. No. If you see the father of my children, you will not do DNA for my children. And the nurses were arguing, and my father was on night duties. So when he came that morning, the moment they saw him, they just gently swapped the baby's back. Hey. She said, Madam, but you wanted the boy. She said, I do, but I cannot go home with somebody boy that is not his own. The day will not break. Yeah. That this baby is not my baby.
Imagine that.
And my sister is so perfectly my father, same genotype, same blood group, same face, same everything. That you couldn't have swapped them.
They're helping.
This is a crime from time. Yeah. And they were justifying that, Madam, how many do you have? What do you have? Don't you want this one? You have this one now. She said, I desperately want a boy.
So they're one of the reasons we want the DNA now going forward. Aside from paternity fraud, these sort of things can happen, right? So that you are clear from the beginning that what I came with into the hospital is what I'm going back with. It's not just about, okay, you went outside or you did not go outside. Let's even be sure that what we brought into the hospital is what we are going away with first. Yeah. Then there was, the last time we had this conversation, I also brought about, there's this thing that is not common, but it happens where it's called chimera, where you can inherit your ancestors' genes, which is not the same with both parents. And then they will accuse the woman of going outside. Meanwhile, if they trace it, it could be the father's gene that the child has. Yeah. So DNA just helps to remove and tick all of those boxes. Now we are left with the...
But in this kind of case, 3 children, 9, 6, and this one...
So I was going to say that, paternity fraud is very different from switching of babies.
Yes,
and for me, this is a whole different conversation. Already, I cannot even imagine that educated nurses are arguing with somebody who is with somebody and saying, this is your child, this is your child, and trying to force another child on you. For me, I don't even... If the fact that it has happened, I think we should go and investigate these hospitals. True. Immediately. True. That is huge. That's a big scandal. Yeah. I cannot even imagine that. But for the paternity fraud, this is one person's deceit against another. There's likelihood of finding out who the father is eventually. Yeah. And the child still belongs to the mother. So with paternity fraud, I think what I hear a lot of people saying now is that they are being deceived by their partners into accepting children that are not theirs. This particular story that we took about 3 children, she says it's because he's busy. We agree there's no justification for it. So what did she want him to do? Is it that he had never been with her in the time she was having the babies? Or he did and nothing came out of it? I know some people that, especially that have difficulties with fertility, they have to look at, they have to look at the period where they can have babies, So that's when they'll ask, there are periods like that, they will have the partner, come in specifically during that period so that they can make the babies. But if you're so busy and you don't pay attention during that time, is that what happened? And so they could not have babies, so she went with someone else. But still, it's not justification. What she could have done is, I need children, I want to have children, and I can see that you do not have the same want as I do. And this is so important to me. I don't think this can continue. But to say that because someone was too busy.
Let me take this call. Chief, thanks for calling, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Maria.
Good morning.
Yeah, actually, this thing we're discussing this morning do happen these days about our own mothers. And because of the exposure now, because of the social media, the new communication, the communication has been stayed. But those days, it's not a taboo and it's not a problem. Somebody can have a child and return back to the first husband. It's not a problem. But the problem we have now, a new generation, because of the reflection. But what's wrong about it is the marriage and flirting. If you're married and you have an issue somewhere, but if your husband is not fertility, there is a way we do it. In another land, you can marry, if you don't have fertility, if you cannot have an issue too, you can bring another woman for your husband to marry into the family. Okay?
Chief, it was difficult to hear you, but I hope our viewers
She finished.
Yeah, because he's trying to explain some
solutions.
questions.
Yes.
I would have loved to. Maybe we can call him back so that it's clearer.
So I wanted him to land the where the infertility is on the man's side. He didn't land it. That you can, but he said we are clear as to when the infertility is on the woman.
You get
that you bring another woman to your husband, and the children she has is clear. Surrogacy.
It has always been like that.
Traditional surrogacy. Whatever she born, if you like, let her born 30. It's your own. You know, but he didn't clearly state if the infertility is the man's own and how they believe.
My mom told me a story. My mom told me a story about a woman who married a wealthy man, and because obviously she was from a very poor home, and she was hoping that he would obviously emancipate her entire family. Anyway, so she married him. The first child is not his. He never knew, for whatever reason, the man was the only person that did not see that this children does not belong to him. Every other person
saw it.
It was obvious. And this child
you won't see.
The first child, definitely. The second child was his, because they could tell.
Okay.
The third child wasn't his, and the fourth child wasn't his.
Oh, wow.
Only one child. Now, so when we were just talking just about it, she was saying that they will suffer the consequence. The mother will suffer that. They can't alert the man, because the man never knew till he died.
Oh, wow.
So the point is that, what is the consequence of the actions? Because I don't know the family, and I wish I knew to even know what happened, what became of the woman or even the children after this happened. But the truth is that, are there spiritual or universal consequences to this kind of action? Because sometimes you just look at it as like, okay, they are human beings, they're living their lives. Okay, maybe the circumstances at which they were born was faulty, but it doesn't mean that they cannot live normal, regular lives. I mean, is there some kind of a spiritual consequence to these actions?
God must love this woman. That the man never found out till
the man never found out till
it's
possible the man knew.
Pretended, yes.
Pretended not to.
That did not have parents like some this popular artist father that we asking the wife for DNA.
For DNA.
Because the drama of this is just unending for some women. But God must love her that, that's wealth in itself. When God has covered and protected her. Her secret and her is between her and God till death.
Or the man is aware. And it's a secret between them.
Yeah.
And it's none of your business, the outsiders, what you think you're seeing or not seeing. We already know what's happening, and we're going to pretend to the world we don't know. There's a particular story also that someone had told me that this, couple, but every time, all her children always looked a bit Shua Arab. Okay. And they had a Shua Arab driver. It says it was obvious that the children looked like they were mixed. But it had never come up. It has never been a problem. Some people have even tried to, from sideways, to say something, and they have gotten a tongue lashing from the husband. So sometimes you think you're outside there judging. You don't know what people are doing in their marriages. The agreements that they have decided that they're going to keep. Their secrets that they do. We need to be careful. So that's one. That's why this talk of DNA, whether it should be mandatory or not, you will find out that there are some men that will insist that they don't want it. Because, as you said, traditionally, how have men dealt with infertility when it's on their own side? There's this thing about men not wanting it to be a big story out there. As long as my wife is pregnant, she's giving birth now. Come and ask me in my room whether I'm the one that's,
But this there's something I want to say. One child, if you can make it, one.
There's something I don't know how to say it. Is it Kadara or something? But Destiny.
Karma.
Okay, so the karma, because there's a point of the fact that if the man knows and in his heart of hearts has judged and cursed the woman, I will be with you in the same house, because I don't want societal judgment. But in my heart of hearts, and God curses the wife, and even the children, in his mind, he never says it out, and then he dies. So is it possible that the curse would be effective on the wife, on the children, because he knows what happened, he has chosen not to fight it and left the fight to God. And God will be the one to fight for him because he knows that I have raised these children. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, we can't speak for God.
I'm just saying how,
no, I understand.
how the society can look at it.
God, but there are principles.
Principles of life, yes. And there's also customs. So where I'm from, certain families will say, if you bring a bastard to this house, that's what they usually say, pardon my English, to this house, cursing the women. In fact, when they are doing burials, they pray for you like cursing. No? It's you that know whether you want to say amen. I'm telling you, where I'm from, what we see, it will tell you to just do better. They will call you, you will kneel down, the matriarch of the house will be looking at you. Sometimes it's the patriarch. Because your work takes you overseas a lot of times, can you keep body? And you'll be like, hey, so we want to pray. Then they will start praying. If you bring this and this, you at some point, amen will not come again. You will, because yes, and they enshrine it as their family principles.
Yes, so family.
The women know better not to try. You don't even want to test it because it takes generation to find out. You don't want to sit down in your old age and be thinking, that Baba's curse is fooling me. You don't want that. So there are families. I know some that they will tell us. They used to tell us from my own mother's side that if you try to have premarital sex, you will be childless.
Yeah.
And my mother used to emphasize it till we later found out that it didn't work. But she used to say it happened. Or you'll be in an unhappy marriage. You were to remain chaste till you approach a man who asks for your hand. So families like that, I want to believe that they have different rules and principles that they apply in their
I want
homes.
to know which curses go to the men who go outside and bring children.
There are curses now. The women too were cursed. You go outside. Women will go naked and go. I remember that somebody that went naked. You want to go outside. If you did
wait, so let me ask you. After the curse, what happened to the children?
You know they see them. Not be the children.
I don't know.
You know they see them.
What will happen?
You know they see them.
What will happen?
So women also curse. Women, that's why in some families where they have sense, when a woman is that hot, they will be guarding her tongue. Some will even shame her from talking. And so you see women will just sit down, and some that you say, Kuku talk now, let's know what's inside your mind. Because when you go into the corners of your corner, you make you and God, you now go to God the way God made you.
We have to wrap up. So, let me pause you for a second. I have a call. I'll come to you. Good morning, Michael, I believe.
Yes, Michael.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Ms. Morel. Yes, I just want to probably take a little different from what has been discussed. I want to say, yes, the direction of your topic is that how do we legalize this, or how do we make it acceptable? I'm just looking at the heading, man devastated. There is no how a man is not going to be devastated when he finds himself in this kind of situation. So what we're saying is, see, all that have been said are correct. Women should be able to check the consequences of their actions. But for us to say, okay, how do we now make it to, okay, be accepted, is for the woman to be bold enough after going outside, for whatever reason. Because if the man had known that they had an agreement just like there are other situations like that, if they had an agreement and all of that, the man wouldn't have even gone ahead to go and do the test in the first place. So the issue here is just that we must call a spade a spade. We must call a spade a spade, and then let's just see that we say these things the way they are, and then we talk about it the way they are. Otherwise, we will just be legalizing everything that seems to be wrong, and then yes, people can do. Men can cheat, women can as well cheat. And when a man impregnates a woman outside, there is no how he can hide it. Even if he hide it, the woman will still know, but that will be the consequences.
Yeah.
So if
Thank you very much, Michael. We have to wrap up on this, but let me let you.
Yes. So what I just see is there's a reason why God does not judge the way we judge, right? Because we see the actions. God sees the intention. And I really do not think, I may be wrong, except for witches and wizards, I really do not think somebody sets out to just be wicked to the spouse from a place of intention. Sometimes it comes from the desperation of what you need. Sometimes it comes from you trying to find your own happiness. Just try to make things work. And that's why God cannot put a blanket judgment over how we would see it and, oh, this is wicked and all of that, and then we judge. It doesn't work that way. A lot of people have been cursed, nothing is happening. A lot of people have cursed people, nothing is happening. You cannot curse somebody that has destiny. And that's why God said, let me be the judge. I am the judge. Judgment is mine because I will see all the angles and I will decide what judgment is right for you. All we can do is let the wickedness not come to our dwelling place. Or even if it finally comes, is there any way we can forgive and move on? Because we really do not know in the scheme of things. A lot of things happen even in the scriptures where it seemed like this is how can this be? And then the genealogy of Jesus Christ, that is where all those people came from. And you're wondering, how does this God judge? Because it's the intention that's most important. I'm not saying it's good to do things you know that are morally wrong. No, it's not. But we cannot sit in a place of God and say, this is how the judgment should come. We don't know that.
I was going to say as well that, you know, God sees our intentions. But thank God for the Lord. The Lord does not know about your intention. If you are caught in the fraud, it will deal with you, you know, accordingly. I wanted to give an example of the American actress Kerry Washington. She had just recently announced that she found out. So there's this thing that they do now where they try and find out your ancestry. Americans like to do that so that they find out, oh, I'm half Nigerian, half Somalian. So she got her parents. She got this person to come and do it for her parents. And she said they were so reluctant. They would be pushing the man to come next. And, you know, she was wondering until they opened up to someone who now said, I think you need to listen to your parents. So apparently, the father couldn't. He had fertility issues. So the mother at the time had to use a donor to father her. And so that was why that thing was not... But it never, ever came up until she thought, let's do this ancestry thing.
Wow.
And so sometimes these things are already agreed upon and managed by families, but in cases where it is not, it's fraud, and then you must be ready to bear the consequences.
So in cases where it's fraud, what kind of consequences should be alluded to women like that who actually intentionally, for different reasons, as you said earlier, that no woman intentionally wants to, but there are some crazy people.
That's what I say, except witches and wizards.
Well, you see,
but there are few.
So the question is, can the law, can the law, I don't want to use the word sanction, it's too light.
It has nothing to do with the law. It has something to do
we're
with
asking, what should
involved.
Should the law
decide to take it to the law?
So I'm sure that there's a civil provision for this. Because a man who has relied on your representation that
you not take a woman to jail, Nima, because of what she did.
Maybe not jail.
Yes, if our
legislators
can find the perfect way, I'm thinking it already. Yes, if our legislators can find the perfect way to criminalize it, this you see.
You know what I'm thinking? Pay child support.
Yes, to pay alimony for life.
Yes, to the man.
Go and work.
Now that I found out that all this
civilly, the man should be able to go to court and say, I spent X and X.
Yes.
If he wants on this number of years, and I would have been a father of my own child because the hospitals have proven that I am not infertile. And this number of years, X number of years, you made sure I did not have a child, you have 3 in this marriage, and get the costs and damages against that woman.
If it's that,
because that should be able to determine.
Some men will not want to go that for the sake
it's good to know that they have options. It's when women,
it's always they protect
it's when the law provides options for both men and women. In cases like this, people can take better decisions. Because it's there's lack of options.
You know, one person
you want to help,
and then one person is a giver, one person is a carrier. So imagine a woman would know that a child is not her own. So
sometimes a woman would not know.
No, now if you bring the child,
how many people did you do?
If you bring the child to my house and I know that I did not give birth, I did not carry 9 months journey, I will simply say I'm not in the right emotional frame of mind to be mother to that child. And you can take her.
Let me take this call. I'll come to you, Daniel. Thanks for calling. You're live.
Wait, which woman will say that one?
Yeah.
We say
good morning. Go ahead.
Go back.
Let's take a comment social media.
Good morning, Morayo.
Morning, Daniel. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, how are you? This is Daniel from Alagbole.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick contribution, very quick. I have a kind of counsel that anybody in that situation, you know that you have cheated on your husband, you're having some children that are not your husband, you should feel, you should muster courage to let your husband know about it. Because if he dies without knowing, that is a sin against God. And I know not just in Christianity, every other religion to know that if you have defrauded your husband, you have cheated on your husband, and the man is not in the know till the man dies, that is a sin.
So they should muster courage either to tell the pastor or to tell a counselor that this has happened, and they should get the husband to know about it.
Yeah.
It is very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel.
Yeah. You know, you were saying that what should it, like government do, or legally, what should be the repercussions for this? And I'm saying, you know, Oyinbo people, they have like repercussions for when you marry a second bigamy.
Yeah.
We don't have that, you know, and they have made it like
bigamy now.
We have bigamy now.
No, not really. If you have traditional, if you marry the person traditionally, you can have 15 other wives. So I get away with it. There's a loophole.
They don't enforce it.
Yes, good. So I'm just saying that you're right. Legally, we should look at it so that the people understand that there's a legal consequence for
this,
for deceiving someone at that level, really. But like Nigerian ways, now we always find a way around
family
it.
comes. Yeah, go ahead.
TMS says, how can you justify paternity fraud by exploring the angle of normalizing it? Why would you justify and casualize what is wrong, modern or not? It's an immoral act and it should never be acceptable. Stop this vague women empowerment that promotes civil will. And Moses Lawal says, many secrets are buried with women in their grave. Fertility tests, compatibility should be mandatory. Fertility tests and compatibility tests should be mandatory to weddings and DNA tests post-birth. On a lighter note, could it be a reason why Lagos DNA and forensic centers was burnt?
Junel Leonard says paternity fraud should have some legal consequences. When doing DNA tests, both parents should be involved. Some children get swapped. Sometimes the woman might not know if it's the case of multiple nightstands. But paternity fraud should be punishable by law.
Uchechi says some married peeps with fertility issues arrange their friends for their wives and keep such secrets and take them to the grave. Crazy things are happening.
We'll be wrapping up. Yeah, go ahead.
Similar happened to a young couple in Lekki 2 years ago. The guy found out the wife was going out with her boss. He did a DNA for his two children. Results came out that the second child wasn't his own. Yeah. The guy killed his wife and he drank.
Me here
killed himself.
Says corruption is everywhere. I don't comprehend why nurses plan to give someone else's child to another person because of money. Me, you and I, like when I heard it today, my whole body, I'm like, how is it a thing? How is it normal? So you think you can persuade someone to take someone else's child?
And when one person is the only one on duty and has sudden emergencies, they can make that mistake. We can excuse when it is a mistake. But when you're being confronted, don't force it. That take cup is your cup. If I say the child doesn't look like my own, you have to do the due diligence. Immediately.
DNA.
They know that can be overwhelmed. But when
I told you the
want
story.
Somebody to join you in the labor room, they will say no.
Yeah, I told you about my brother's
general hospitals. They don't allow family members.
Family members, yeah.
I told you about a story. Just last year, my brother was having to do with a friend who found out in South Africa that his two daughters, who are now almost 30, over 30,
were not his.
And he raised them. He left their mother in the US. He went with the kids. And it was only by chance he found out that he's two girls. So he was worried about how do I
communicate that
tell that to the girls. So these, eventually, obviously, the girls were told, and then they have to go meet their mother and their real father, who their mother is married to in the US. He's just, so the man is now left because that man who used to be his friend now has his daughters and they have children in the US. So he feels, but now he's now left to those girls.
So he's the one that got zero.
He got zero.
He got zero.
He's left to his daughter.
She used him, she had the children. Yeah. She now married the man that they cheated with, and now had extra children. She's now living happily ever after.
He raised her children. No, now.
Yes.
So that's why you're asking.
So what
time invested, emotions invested. Waiting now.
Although I'm sure, and I don't know the side story now because I didn't follow up. But in case the girls do still come back to their father in South Africa, you raised us, your father. But would it still hit that okay, these are my kids?
Not at all. He has been cheated out of it. He has been cheated out of life. He spent how many years of his life raising people that were not his. And they are in the Obodo Yibo, if he's here, they will invoke, as long as we are together, I married you, these children are mine, and nobody can contest it. That's a culture that they have here. Then the children will now
the children are also in their 30s, so I'm sure they too.
No, the culture still holds, so it still holds.
Okay, we have to wrap up. I think that's all we can take. But again, paternity fraud is fraud, no matter how you want to paint it.
Exactly.
It's fraud. It's wrong on both sides, and I think it's important for us to find real legal consequences for these actions, because if we don't do that, it will continue to happen. And it's not new. We've always had it. It's just that now social media has brought it more to the fore. But going forward, I think it's important for us to make open this conversation so more people can come out to own up to their mistakes or things that they've done intentionally. That's all we can take on this segment. We'll come back on to our segment on kidney. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Healthy kidneys.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.